Sparks, and my topic is how television affects children. A study conducted by Nickelodeon concluded that children born after 2005 watch 35 hours of TV per week. Now this is a whopping 820 hours of TV a year lost to television. Now this becomes a problem because instead of using this time to be exercising and playing with their friends and studying schoolwork, these kids are watching TV. And this is when TV can become a problem. So that brings me to my main claim that television has a significant negative effect on children. And by children, I mean children up to the age of 13 years old. And I have two supporting claims. My first is that TV negatively affects children's physical health, and my second is that TV negatively affects children's mental health. So first, TV affects children's physical health in two ways I'm going to discuss. First is it causes obesity, and second is it makes children sleep deprived. So first, excessive amounts of television cause obesity. Researchers at the Journal of Pediatrics claim with television, a minimum 5-hour-a-day habit increased the odds of obesity by 78% compared to children who didn't have television time. Now this can be attributed to two factors when watching television. First, the ads in TV and the immobility associated with watching television. So first, television commercials influence food consumption. A study done by Dr. Jennifer Harris at Yale University Department of Psychology concluded children who watched cartoons with food commercials ate 45% more snack food while viewing than children who watched cartoons with non-food advertising. So this is proof that while kids are sitting down and they're watching their cartoons and then they see the food commercials come on, they think they're snacking and they're intaking all these calories and they're not being able to burn those calories because they're continuing to watch television. And second, the immobility associated with watching television. A recent study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found the more hours spent watching television, the more likely children were to be fatter and less physically active. So that's the less children, and then the researchers from the same study found that every extra hour per day spent watching television was associated with a 2.2-pound increase in body fat. So this means that kids over the span of the year are gaining 66 pounds while watching television. So the ads are making them fat, and them sitting down so much making them fat too. And second, television can make children sleep deprived. A recent study conducted by the University of Auckland in New Zealand reported that children who spent 30 minutes or more watching television before bed ended up getting an hour less sleep per week. So on average a year, this is 52 hours of sleep lost a year. And then Dr. Laura Samuels, a pediatrician who contributed to the study in New Zealand, postulates sleep is just as important in terms of growth and development as nutrition. Kids need adequate sleep to grow physically. Now, kids need sleep because there's a growth hormone that is primarily secreted during sleep. And if they don't get that much sleep, then the kids aren't going to grow. Now, I'm not saying that if the kid watches an hour of extra television that they're going to wake up the next day and be 3 feet tall for the rest of their lives. That's not going to happen. Now, it might not be as, the effects might not be as significant as staying 3 feet forever, but they might lose an inch or two. And secondly, if fat cells secrete hormones called leptin that tell children to stop eating. And when you're sleep deprived, these hormones don't secrete, and the children continue to eat. That makes them obese. So the ads in TV are making children obese, and the fact that you're watching so much extra television and not sleeping, that's causing you to gain weight as well. And my second supporting claim is that television negatively affects children's mental health. And I'm going to examine this in two ways. First, it causes aggressive behavior in children, and second, it causes social isolation. So first, children learn from experience, and they have difficulty differentiating between what's real and what isn't. Studies by George Gervner, a doctor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, shows that children's shows contain about 20 violent acts each hour. So that means if kids are watching 1, 2, 3 hours of TV, they're watching 20, 40, 60 violent acts. And a study conducted in the Journal of Science postulates adolescents, both girls and boys, who watch more than 1 hour of television a day are more likely to commit aggressive and violent behavior as adults. So that means that these kids are watching their 20, 40, 60, 80 violent acts, and they're internalizing this in their mind, and they're thinking that this is okay because their minds haven't fully developed yet. And a study conducted by Penn State shows 100 preschoolers where half watched cartoons with no violence and half did not, and half did. Children who watched the violent shows, even just the funny cartoons, were more likely to hit out their playmates, argue, disobey class rules, leave tasks unfinished, and were less willing to wait for things than those who watched the non-violent programs. And to me, and this is evidence that there is a noticeable link between television viewing in violent situations and aggressive behavior in children. And second, television causes social isolation. A recent study at the University of Montreal concluded that children who watched a lot of television while growing up were more likely to prefer solitude and adopt antisocial behavior at the end of their first year in middle school. So the statistic that I told you in the beginning about the kids who were born since 2005 who watched the 35 hours of television a week, those kids are now entering their finishing their year in middle school because they're about 13 or 12 years old. So those kids are probably experiencing antisocial behavior, and it finds that they probably enjoy being by themselves more because they're watching so much television. And a study done by Dr. Dimitri Pistakis, a professor of child psychology at the University of Washington, states that when television is switched on, youngsters spend more time in silence and solitude than in social interaction. This is more evidence that television causes social isolation. So in conclusion, I explained to you that my main claim that television has a significant negative effect on children. My first secondary claim is that television affects children's physical health by causing obesity and sleep deprivation. And my second secondary claim explained how television negatively affects children's mental health by causing aggressive behavior and social isolation. Thank you.
All right, Destiny. Propositions clearly identified. There's a pretty good preview. When you get to the body of the speech, everything is over-organized. You got too many. I heard first, 3 times in a row, twice, and then, second, 3 times in a row, twice. So you need to simplify it a little bit. I understand the desire to be organized and be able to follow, but it ends up sounding more complicated. And since your minor claims are so distinct, one is about obesity and the other is about sleep deprivation, I think you could probably get away without signposting those with a number. Or if you're going to do that, use a letter instead. That way we don't have my first point and the first point under my first point and then the first point under the first point. It'll sound a little bit clearer that way. If you just say, all right, my first point is this, and I have 2 ways to prove it. A, blah, 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 and then B, blah, 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 blah. Simpler, cleaner, and it'll sound less complicated. You've got a lot of research in the presentation. You cite all of the sources very clearly. I think there's a good variety of statistical information. Sometimes I think we could use a little bit more explanation of some of the studies in the ways that they arrived at their conclusions. But there's the citations I think are very solid for the most part. I do think because you've got so much that you're trying to cram in that you end up having to rush a little bit in the presentation, and it might be helpful to take 1 or 2 of those pieces of evidence out and hold on to them. Now, there's not much reason to hold on to them for this assignment, but for example, when we have the debates at the end of the term, you get multiple opportunities to talk about an issue, and having additional information to back up your claim would be useful in that particular context. All right, that's fine. There you go.